What if the only thing standing between you and the life you dream of is the way your mind works right now? Every success, every breakthrough, every powerful decision you admire in others, it all starts in one place, the mind. But here's the hard truth most people never face. The mind left untrained becomes your worst enemy. It creates fear when there's nothing to fear. It overthinks, hesitates, and second guesses. It convinces you to stay comfortable, small, and safe, while your potential screams for more. You weren't born to just get by. Deep inside, you know this. You feel it every time you scroll past people doing what you wish you could. You feel it when another day ends and you haven't moved an inch closer to the life you want. That frustration, that heaviness in your chest, it's not failure. It's your mind begging for leadership. The truth is, you don't need more luck. You don't need more time. You don't even need more talent. You need a mind that's trained to win, trained to act, not react. Because success doesn't come to the one who knows the most. It comes to the one who can stay clear, calm, and committed, no matter what chaos is happening around them. When your mind is trained, obstacles become puzzles. Pressure becomes fuel. Fear becomes a signal to move forward, not run away. This is not some motivational phrase. It's a mental upgrade. You can train your mind to become your strongest ally, or you can keep letting it sabotage your future. The choice is yours, and it starts now. Think about this. Every moment you hesitate, every time you doubt yourself, every excuse you let slide is the result of a mind that hasn't been trained. You were never taught how to manage your thoughts, how to break through fear, or how to take control of your inner world. But what if you could learn? What if there was a system to rewire your mental patterns and replace them with precision, confidence, and discipline? That's what this journey is, and it's not reserved for the elite. It's for anyone who's tired of feeling stuck, anyone who knows they were built for more but can't seem to break through, anyone ready to stop surviving and start leading their life with clarity, power, and purpose. If you stay until the end, you will learn how to turn your thoughts into fuel, your fear into fire, and your daily actions into a weapon of unstoppable growth. You will discover how to reprogram your beliefs and shift your identity from passive observer to relentless achiever. This is not a motivational high, it's a mental transformation. And once your mind is trained, success becomes predictable. They're not easy, but inevitable. The greatest battle you'll ever fight won't be against others. It will be the silent war inside your own head. Train your mind, and you win that war. And when you win that war, you win everything. Stay with me. Your new life is waiting. Most people never realize they're trapped inside a cage they cannot see. It's not made of steel or stone. It's built from thoughts, fears, and silent rules accepted without question. From the moment you could think, the world began shaping your mind, telling you what's possible, what's smart, what's safe. Be realistic. Don't try too hard. Stay in your lane. These voices weren't yours, but over time, you believed them. You let them define your limits. And now, every time you dream bigger, that same cage pulls you back down. But here's the truth that changes everything. Limits aren't real until you accept them. They're mental walls made of outdated beliefs. The moment you stop obeying them, they start to collapse. No one is born with fear of failure. No one is born doubting their worth. Those are downloaded programs, learned from rejection, setbacks, criticism, and comparison. You didn't choose them, but you live under them. Every excuse you make, every opportunity you avoid, every time you hold back your voice, it's not because you're weak. It's because your mind is still running on survival mode. It was trained to avoid risk, not to chase greatness. It was trained to protect, not to expand. And if you don't take control, it will keep pulling you toward the familiar, even when the familiar is destroying your potential. There is no freedom without awareness. Until you see the mental cage, you can't break out of it. You must become the observer of your own thoughts, the one who questions, rewrites, and rebuilds. Every belief must be held up to the light. Ask yourself, who told me I couldn't? Who convinced me I'm not ready? Who decided what success means for me? If the answer isn't you, then the belief doesn't belong. Tear it down. Rewrite the rules. Train your mind to serve your vision, not your fears. You were not designed to live small. You were built with strength, imagination, and willpower. But the mind can either sharpen those weapons or dull them into dust. If your thoughts are not empowering you, they are enslaving you. And that's not a life. That's a mental prison. But there is a way out. It starts by challenging everything that keeps you playing it safe. Comfort zones are deadly. They make you feel warm while silently killing your potential. You must become addicted to growth, not ease. You must want the truth more than you want to feel right. Because when you wake up to how deeply your mind has been conditioned to settle, something inside you breaks. And in that break, there is freedom. This isn't just about thinking differently. It's about taking your mind back from fear, doubt, and mediocrity. It's about standing at the edge of who you were told to be and choosing to become who you were born to be. When you break the cage, you don't just change your life, you create a new reality. One thought at a time, one belief at a time, one breakthrough at a time. Your brain is not a fixed machine. It's a living system, constantly changing, adapting, rewiring itself based on what you feed it and how you use it. Every thought you repeat, every emotion you dwell on, every belief you reinforce, it all shapes the very structure of your mind. This is the truth most people ignore. They think they're stuck with who they are. They believe their personality, their habits, their emotional reactions are permanent. But neuroscience proves otherwise. Your brain listens to your life, and what you repeatedly think becomes what you automatically believe. That means your confidence can be built. Your focus can be sharpened. Your courage can be trained. You are not stuck. You're simply untrained. Every time you give in to doubt, you wire your brain to hesitate again. Every time you speak limitations over yourself, your mind accepts them as fact. The brain doesn't care what's true, it cares what's repeated. It learns by consistency, not accuracy. That's why people live in cycles. Not because they're broken, but because their patterns are. To change your life, you don't need to fight harder. You need to interrupt the pattern. Replace the fear with action. Replace the delay with decision. Replace the negativity with direction. This isn't magic, it's mental engineering, and you are the architect. The mind learns by what you focus on. So what are you feeding it? Are you feeding it excuses or solutions? Are you strengthening fear or building courage? Are you reinforcing failure or programming resilience? Your mind becomes what you give attention to. Starve the thoughts that weaken you. Feed the ones that strengthen your future. Every repetition is a signal. Every repetition is instruction. Every repetition is transformation in motion. That's the power you've had all along. You don't have to feel ready. You have to act with intention. The feeling comes after the action. The belief comes after the proof. But none of that happens if you wait. Train your mind to move anyway. Train it to ignore the noise. Train it to push past the hesitation. Because if you can take control of your focus, you take control of your future. Focus is the steering wheel of the brain, and most people let it spin without direction. But not you. You're here to take it back. You're here to lock in on purpose, on growth, on unshakable vision.
You were never meant to live by default.
You were meant to live by design, and that design starts in the mind. It starts with the thoughts you choose to repeat, the habits you build through pressure, and the identity you choose to step into. You are not your past patterns. You are not your weakest moments. You are the builder of what comes next. Train your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Everything begins there. Everything ends there. And once you master that level, the world outside of you has no power left to control what happens within. Fear is not the enemy. It's a signal, a trigger, a doorway. But most people run from it, numb it, avoid it, pretend it doesn't exist. They let it decide what they start, what they finish, what they never even attempt. Fear becomes their silent ruler, hiding behind logic and excuses. But fear only has power over the untrained mind. Once your mind is trained, fear becomes fuel. It sharpens you. It focuses you. It reminds you that something on the other side matters deeply. You fear it because it's connected to your growth. You fear it because it challenges who you've been. But the version of you that can thrive in any situation does not run from fear. They stand in front of it and move anyway. When you avoid fear, it grows. When you face it, it shrinks. Every time you act despite fear, your brain rewires strength. It builds a new reference point. It says, I was afraid, but I did it anyway. That's where confidence is born. Not in perfection, not in preparation, but in action taken through discomfort. The truth is, no success happens without fear, because every meaningful change demands risk. It demands uncertainty. It demands you step into the unknown without guarantees. And your mind, if untrained, will panic. It will throw every reason at you to stay still. But a trained mind doesn't obey fear. It observes it, respects it, and moves anyway. It knows fear is just part of the process, not a stop sign, just a checkpoint. You don't overcome fear by thinking about it. You overcome it by doing exactly what it tells you not to do. You speak up, you take the step, you press send, you show up, and every time you do, you gather power, you collect proof, you rewire what your mind believes about who you are. That's where transformation begins, not in waiting to feel brave, but in deciding you're done letting fear shrink your life. You weren't born to tiptoe through life avoiding discomfort. You were built to expand, to lead, to stretch what's possible. That only happens when you stop treating fear as fact and start using it as feedback. Most people let fear keep them invisible. You are not most people. You are here to train your mind to move forward regardless of fear, not blindly, but deliberately, with clarity, with courage, with the quiet decision that you will not let your emotions dictate your actions. You feel them, you face them, but you don't bow to them. That's real power. And it's not found, it's built. You don't need to become fearless. You need to become so clear on who you are and what you want that fear no longer owns your decisions. Train your mind to see fear, then act anyway. Because every time you do, you rise, you grow, you evolve. And the life you've always wanted moves one step closer, not by chance, but by choice. The voice in your head is either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. It speaks before anyone else does. It judges, it predicts, it reminds, and it questions. And most people never realize they've handed over their entire future to that voice. When left untrained, it becomes harsh, reactive, and full of doubt. It brings up every past failure. It echoes the worst things you've heard about yourself. It interrupts your confidence and replaces it with hesitation. But that voice is not you. It's just the loudest pattern. And you can change it. You can train it. You can rewrite the way you speak to yourself until your inner world becomes unshakable. Because the words you tell yourself in silence shape the life you live in public. Every time you think you're not good enough, that voice gets stronger. Every time you say, I can't, you give it more power. But the truth is, you're not hearing facts. You're hearing familiar. It's not truth, it's repetition. Your mind loves patterns, so if you've been feeding it weakness, that's all it knows how to say back to you. When you start feeding it strength, it will learn to speak in certainty. It will shift. It will evolve. It will learn new lines. That's why your self-talk matters more than motivation. What you say to yourself when no one's listening is the most powerful force in your life. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You need to become aware of what your mind whispers and interrupt it with what you've chosen to believe. Instead of I can't, replace it with I will figure this out. Instead of I'm not ready, train it to say I'm learning and I'm growing. Instead of I always fail, anchor it in I'm building momentum. These aren't just affirmations, they're commands, and your brain responds to commands. Speak weakness and you'll feel it. Speak strength and you'll grow into it. You are the author of your internal language. You decide the script. When you master your inner voice, you don't need constant approval. You don't need outside validation. You don't chase comfort. You build character. You move with intention because your mind has been trained to support you, not sabotage you. And that changes everything. You begin to walk differently, think differently, lead differently. You no longer crumble under pressure because your self-talk is grounded, focused, and built for battle. This is what makes the difference between someone who gives up at the first sign of difficulty and someone who rises with grit and resolve. It's not their talent, it's their mental conversation. If you want to succeed in every situation, this voice must be aligned with your vision. It must repeat your power, not your pain. It must support your growth, not your fears. And that only happens when you take control. Train your mind to speak strength. Train it to tell the truth about your potential. And watch your entire life begin to shift. Strength doesn't come from feeling motivated. It comes from doing what needs to be done even when you feel nothing. Discipline is the invisible bridge between goals and results. It's the difference between wishing and becoming. Most people wait for the right mood, the perfect timing, or a burst of inspiration, but a trained mind doesn't depend on mood. It depends on mission. It doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what needs to be done. That's the mindset that wins. That's the foundation of lasting success. Because when the excitement fades, when the path gets heavy, when no one is watching, only discipline keeps you moving forward. You're not failing because you don't want it enough. You're failing because your actions still depend on how you feel. But your feelings are temporary. Your future is not. If your mind is trained, you will act through fatigue, through resistance, through doubt. Because discipline teaches you to follow through, not just start strong. Every day you show up, even at 50%, you prove to yourself that you're becoming someone who finishes. And that identity is everything, because the mind will always follow the identity it believes in. If it believes you're someone who gives up, it will offer 1,000 ways to quit. But if it knows you're someone who follows through, it will search for every way to push through. That shift only happens through consistent discipline. Discipline is not about intensity. It's about integrity. It's what you do when it's boring, when it's quiet, when it's inconvenient. That's where greatness is built, not in a moment of hype, but in daily alignment. You don't rise to the level of your potential. You fall to the level of your habits. That's why training your mind is not a one-time event. It's a daily decision, over and over. Until what used to feel difficult becomes your new normal. Until waking up early, staying focused, following through, and pushing your limits is no longer a struggle. It's just who you are. You don't need to conquer the entire mountain today. You need to take the step your mind wants to avoid. That's discipline. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it changes everything. Because when your mind learns that excuses no longer work on you, it begins to obey your commands. It respects your will. And once your mind respects you, success becomes a matter of direction, not motivation. You simply move, no matter what. Your life will never rise higher than the standard you enforce when no one is looking. Build that standard. Cement it into your identity. Be the one who shows up, who does the work, who leads themselves even when no one else will. Because once discipline is locked in, nothing can stop you, not time, not pressure, not fear. The world bends to the person who moves with discipline. And that person is who you were meant to become. Build the habit, enforce the standard, train the mind, and let the results speak for themselves. Pain is not punishment, it is preparation. It is not there to destroy you, it's there to develop you. The difference between those who break and those who rise is not the pain itself, but how the mind interprets it. Most people resist pain. They try to escape it. But when the mind is trained, pain becomes instruction. It becomes fuel. It becomes a teacher that sharpens you, shapes you, and reveals strength you didn't know existed. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when the pressure builds, when things fall apart, when you're forced to face yourself without distraction. And in that space, where everything feels like too much, a new version of you is being built. You are not weak because you struggle. You are not broken because it hurts. The struggle is the signal. The pain is the process. Every setback you endure, every disappointment you carry, every tear you hide, that's the resistance training of your mind. And if you stay with it, if you push when it's heavy and hold on when it's dark, something shifts. You stop fearing the pain. You start owning it. You stop asking why and start asking how. How can this make me stronger? How can I rise from this sharper, clearer, better? That's the mindset of someone who turns pain into power. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they refuse to waste it. The world will not always be kind. Life will not always make sense. But your ability to succeed in every situation depends on how you handle pressure. Do you fold? Do you hide? Or do you step forward with clarity, knowing that the mind can be trained to endure, to adapt, to lead? The choice is yours. Either pain becomes the reason you stop or the reason you break through. And that choice is made in the mind long before it's made in action. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this moment. Every challenge has given you a tool. Every failure has built a layer of resilience. And if you see it clearly, you'll realize you're not behind, you're becoming, you're not stuck, you're solidifying, you're not falling apart, you're being rebuilt from the inside out. The pressure you feel is not your enemy. It's the weight that forges champions, not in appearance, but in mindset, not in noise, but in silence. That's where real strength is born. You don't need an easier path. You need a stronger mind, a mind that knows pain is temporary, but growth is permanent. A mind that sees failure not as the end, but as instruction. A mind that refuses to surrender because it knows what's being built is worth every ounce of discomfort. So lean in, feel it fully, and keep moving, because the pain that once made you doubt yourself will soon become the reason you trust your strength. This is how warriors are forged, not in comfort, but in the fire. Train your mind to walk through it, and nothing will ever break you again. Emotions are powerful, but when left unmanaged, they can become destructive. They blur judgment, cloud decisions, and distort reality. A single moment of anger, fear, or doubt can unravel months of progress. The untrained mind reacts emotionally and then regrets logically. It lashes out, shuts down, or spirals. But a trained mind understands the difference between feeling and choosing. It doesn't deny emotions, it respects them, reads them, and then responds with purpose. Mastering your emotions is not about suppressing them. It's about not letting them control you. It's about creating space between what you feel and what you do. In that space lies your power. You cannot lead your life with clarity if your emotions lead you. Emotions are messengers, not masters. They are data, not commands. A trained mind knows how to feel everything without becoming enslaved to anything. It learns to pause, to breathe, to observe without attachment, to question the impulse before following it. That is where self-control is built, not in the absence of emotion, but in the strength to act above it. Because emotions will rise, pressure will come, people will test you, life will throw uncertainty, criticism, and chaos your way, and in those moments your mind must be stronger than your mood. The more emotionally reactive you are, the more easily manipulated you become. Anyone can trigger you. Any situation can rattle you. But when your emotional responses are trained, you don't just survive pressure, you perform under it. You don't collapse into frustration, you redirect it into focus. You don't drown in anxiety, you turn it into awareness. That shift isn't automatic, it's intentional, and it's earned through repetition. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you rewire your brain for leadership. Every time you stay grounded instead of triggered, you reinforce control. Every time you rise above, you prove to yourself that you are not your emotions. You are the one who leads them. There is no success without emotional mastery, because the real test is not what you do when things go right. It's how you respond when everything feels wrong. That's when the truth surfaces. That's when identity is exposed. That's when all the training either collapses or shows its worth. And if your mind is trained, you won't break, you'll breathe, you'll refocus, you'll adapt, you'll lead. You can't stop emotions from rising, but you can stop them from running your life. You can train your nervous system to respond with strength. You can condition your thoughts to remain steady. You can build an internal state so solid that external chaos can't penetrate it. That is the mind of someone who wins, regardless of circumstance. Not because life is perfect, but because they are prepared. Not because they never feel the storm, but because they become the calm inside it. This is what you're training for. A mind that doesn't flinch, a mind that doesn't fold, a mind that leads even in the dark. And when you have that, there is no situation you cannot handle. Your mind responds to what it rehearses. Repetition isn't just a habit, it's how you rewire the brain. If you keep replaying worst-case scenarios, failure becomes familiar. If you keep imagining the future with fear, hesitation becomes automatic. But if you train your mind to rehearse success, clarity, and strength, you begin to shift your internal blueprint. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between a real event and one vividly imagined. That means you can prepare for challenges before they happen. You can train yourself to act with precision before the pressure arrives. You can see the win before it's real. And when you do, you build the belief required to make it real. What you see in your mind, you start to chase in your life. Visualization isn't fantasy. It's mental programming. It's a tool of deliberate creation. When you close your eyes and vividly imagine yourself staying calm under pressure executing your goals with intensity, rising after setbacks, and owning your identity, you activate the same neural networks that fire during real-life performance. You are rehearsing victory before it exists. You are building certainty before it's needed. And when the moment comes, your mind doesn't question it. It recognizes it, because you've already been there, in your focus, in your imagination, in your inner training ground. Most people visualize failure and call it realism. They picture everything that could go wrong. They anticipate rejection, embarrassment, defeat, and then wonder why they freeze when it's time to act. That pattern must be broken. You must take control of the images you allow your mind to feed on. If your mental movie is full of fear, doubt, and loss, your body will follow. Your confidence will shrink. Your decisions will weaken. But if your inner vision is strong, detailed, and consistent, your actions will align with it. Your energy will rise to meet it. Your habits will begin to shape around it. Close your eyes and see the life you want. Not in vague wishes, but in sharp detail. See how you walk, how you speak, how you move through difficulty with purpose. Feel the emotions of strength, confidence, and fulfillment as if they're already yours. This isn't pretending, it's aligning. It's practicing presence in a future you're committed to creating. The more you visit that version of yourself, the more familiar it becomes. The more familiar it becomes, the easier it is to step into. This is how you build a mind that moves with vision, a mind that leads, a mind that has rehearsed the hard moments so many times that they no longer shake you. You respond from power, not panic. You execute from belief, not doubt. And when the outside world tests you, you're ready, not because you guessed, but because you trained. Rehearse your power, envision your success, and watch your mind turn intention into reality. This is the practice that separates the distracted from the disciplined, the passive from the powerful. This is how you win before the world even sees it. Noise is the enemy of clarity. Distraction is the enemy of progress. In a world that pulls your attention in 1,000 directions, your ability to control your focus is more valuable than ever. Most people don't lose their potential because they lack talent. They lose it because their attention is scattered. Their energy is divided. Their thoughts are hijacked by meaningless input that adds nothing and steals everything. The untrained mind chases every notification, entertains every impulse, and feeds on low-level content that weakens its ability to think deeply, act intentionally, and lead powerfully. Focus isn't just a productivity tool. It's a survival skill in a distracted world. And if you want to rise above average, you must fight for it. Your brain is wired to seek stimulation, but that same wiring is trainable. You can condition your mind to crave stillness, to value depth over speed, to reject the mental clutter that clouds your inner signal. You don't need to consume more. You need to cut out what's unnecessary. Simplicity is strength. Stillness is a weapon. Clarity doesn't come from noise. It comes from silence. And when you begin to discipline your attention, you reclaim your power. You become the gatekeeper of your mind, choosing what enters, what stays, and what must be rejected. Success demands deep thinking. It requires sustained attention. You cannot build something meaningful with a mind that is constantly interrupted. Every distraction costs more than just time. It costs momentum. It breaks the rhythm of your focus, the flow of your energy, the stability of your emotion. If your attention is under attack, your potential is being drained by the minute. But when you train your mind to narrow in on what matters, to stay present, to filter the noise, you become dangerous to anything that stands in your way. Not because you're doing more, but because what you're doing is precise, intentional, fully aligned. You don't need to know everything. You need to know what matters. You don't need to do everything. You need to do what moves you forward. That clarity only comes when you eliminate what's unnecessary. Audit your inputs, guard your mind, set boundaries with your time, your attention, your energy. The world will never stop screaming for it, but you decide who gets access. You decide what your mind entertains. And when you say no to what distracts, you create space for what drives you. This is what a trained mind looks like. Not just disciplined in action, but refined in focus. Sharpened by what it refuses to consume. Strengthened by what it consciously ignores. This is how clarity is built, not by chance, but by choice. Cut the noise. Embrace the silence. Protect your attention like your future depends on it, because it does. Your focus is your power. Your clarity is your edge. And once your mind learns to stay locked in, nothing can pull you away from who you're becoming. A strong mind doesn't wait for certainty. It creates it. The most powerful people you'll ever encounter aren't those who always have the answers, but those who move forward with conviction even in the face of unknowns. They don't wait until every condition is perfect, every risk eliminated, or every doubt silenced. They act with purpose, not because they are free from fear, but because they are rooted in decision. Indecision is the enemy of progress. It keeps you stuck, overthinking, analyzing, delaying. It drains your energy and breaks your spirit one hesitation at a time. But a trained mind doesn't spin in circles. It decides, it commits, it adapts. Clarity is built through movement, not overanalysis. Confidence is built through execution, not endless reflection. The more you hesitate, the more your mind will feed you reasons to wait, reasons to doubt, reasons to step back. But the moment you choose decisiveness, the moment you take a clear action, the fog begins to lift. You send a new signal to your brain. This is who I am now. This is what I do. This is where I'm going. And your thoughts begin to fall in line with that identity. Waiting for clarity only leads to regret. Creating clarity through consistent, intentional action leads to power. The world doesn't reward those who think about acting. It rewards those who lead themselves into action. Every time you choose decisiveness over delay, you shift your identity from passive to powerful. You become the kind of person who doesn't just dream. You execute. You don't waste energy on what-ifs. You don't live in the loop of should I or shouldn't I. You act, you learn, and you grow. And the more you do, the more your mind aligns with that standard. You stop looking for guarantees and start building momentum. A trained mind understands that mistakes are part of mastery. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. And progress requires movement. Even if it's messy, even if it's uncertain, even if it stretches you past your comfort. The untrained mind waits for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of self. But none of that exists. All that exists is now and what you do with it. This moment is a test of your mental training. Will you shrink back into hesitation? Or will you choose the identity of someone who acts boldly, even when the path isn't fully lit? Every decision you make rewires your mind to either believe in your power or doubt your ability. Train it to believe, train it to move, train it to lead. You don't need more time. You need to stop feeding hesitation and start feeding discipline. Or let go of the need to be right. Embrace the need to be real with yourself, with your goals, with your next step. Decide who you are, decide what matters, and move forward like your future depends on it, because it does. Your environment is not neutral. It is either sharpening you or slowly dulling your edge. Every place you spend time in, every voice you allow into your head, every habit you repeat inside your space, it all programs your mind. You are constantly absorbing signals. Signals that tell you what's normal, what's acceptable, what's expected. And if you're not intentional, your surroundings will train you to settle. They will normalize mediocrity. They will reward distraction. They will numb your ambition by surrounding it with comfort. That is why you must protect your space with the same intensity you protect your goals. Because if your environment doesn't challenge you, it will weaken you without you even noticing. The mind adapts to what it's surrounded by. If you live in chaos, your thoughts will become noisy. If you live around doubt, your confidence will shrink. If you live in an environment that celebrates comfort over discipline, your standards will begin to fade. But the moment you take control of what surrounds you, everything begins to shift. Your energy rises, your thoughts get clearer, your habits lock in. The mind performs best in alignment, not just with purpose, but with space. The people you let into your life, the systems you build around your goals, the way you organize your time, your day, your attention, all of it either reinforces your growth or resists it. The untrained mind assumes it can stay strong in any setting. But the truth is, even the most focused person can be weakened by the wrong environment. Success in every situation requires more than mindset. It requires design. You must deliberately create a world around you that mirrors the world you're building inside you. That means cutting out the noise. That means removing triggers that lead to distraction. That means eliminating the influences that keep you anchored to your past. A strong environment doesn't just feel inspiring, it holds you accountable. It supports your mission. It reflects the identity you are becoming, not the version of you that you've outgrown. Rebuilding your environment is not about being harsh. It's about being honest. What in your space is no longer serving your future? What conversations drain your energy? What habits are stealing time from your purpose? These are not minor questions. These are foundational. Because when you shift your environment, you shift the expectations your mind operates under. You create pressure that aligns with growth, not stagnation. You build momentum, not friction. You reinforce progress, not excuses. You do not rise in isolation. You rise with structure. You rise with boundaries. You rise when your surroundings are built to match your standards. Train your mind to evaluate everything through that lens. Does this bring me closer or pull me away? If it doesn't build you, it doesn't belong. Your future demands more than hope. It demands an environment designed for excellence. Create it, protect it, and become unstoppable inside it. Progress is not random. It is the reward for alignment. When your actions match your vision, when your choices reflect your standards, when your habits reinforce your identity, momentum becomes inevitable. Most people struggle not because they lack drive, but because their life is out of sync. They say they want discipline, but choose comfort. They say they want success, but protect routines that waste time. They say they're committed, but tolerate patterns that weaken them. Until your behavior reflects your beliefs, progress will remain inconsistent. The trained mind understands this. It knows that excellence is not found in big declarations. It's found in daily alignment. And that alignment starts with brutal honesty. You cannot lie to yourself and win. You cannot speak one standard and live another. The subconscious mind hears everything. It watches your actions. It records your